Hello and welcome to today's Instagram Live. Today we're going to be talking about the energy of 2026 and what the call is for those of us who are on a path of divine purpose, a path of mission, a path of knowing that we are here to anchor certain frequencies and be that bridge between the mystical downloads and the material realm, right? To be that bridge builder between old and new. And so I'm going to be speaking about that today and sharing some thoughts about where we're going and the trends that I'm seeing on this path of purpose and where I'm seeing the energy collectively. We're going to talk a little bit about the astrology, and I'm going to share a couple of resources. So howdy to everybody who is on the replay, and howdy to everybody who is here live. If you're here live, you're also welcome to answer questions or ask questions as I go. So let's talk about this very specific moment of transformation that we're in collectively. This is a process. We could zoom way out and look at this giant process of bridge building, this demolition of the old to create the new, that depending on which way you look at it and how you read the cycles, you can see moments in 2012, you can see moments in 2020, these specific before and after initiation points of this process of transformation that humanity is moving through. And I want to be clear that I'm speaking to the people who are in resonance with this understanding, who have that deep feeling within themselves of, I know that I'm here at this time for a reason, and I can see, or at least a part of me is calling me to see a deeper story that is unfolding beyond what is being projected into the collective, and who know themselves to be on a path of divine reunification, reconnecting with God, reconnecting with your soul, remembering your power, and being stewards for organic co-creation with God, restoring that direct connection, the potency and the clarity of that channel, and creating and serving and living from that place in a divinely guided way. And I also want to be clear, in case anyone is popping on here who is new to me and who doesn't have context on my previous work, when I say the word God, I do not have any religious intention, programming, expectation within that. When I say the word God, it is a hard-won, reclaimed word after my own experience of having a very religious childhood and experiencing the control and the distortions of certain systems. And at this time, it feels really important for me to speak the word God and to speak about my direct connection with the Creator in that way. And I just want to be clear that I hold a very non-dogmatic, non-denominational space. So anybody coming into my spaces is really honored for wherever they are in that journey. And there's no preconceived notion of where you should be, how you should relate to God, and none of that. In certain spiritual religious spaces, there can be this almost like implicit expectation that you will see the light in a particular way eventually, and also in a time where, and we'll get into this as we talk about the changing energy right now, there's a really strong kind of end times flavor to the collective consciousness right now, and a lot of folks are moving between different spiritual systems or having big revelations, are changing how they're orienting their work. And I just like to, from time to time, reiterate that that is not happening in my space. And when I say God, I mean infinite intelligence, I mean prime creator, I mean the God beyond any religious construct, and the God that is known and experienced in the soul, in the body, through direct experience. And so everything that I'm doing with my clients, with my students, is about providing tools and spaces for that direct connection to be cultivated, to be strengthened in a way that is about each person's sovereignty. So for whatever reason, that caveat or that context just wanted to come through today as a reminder, and because there's a lot of active polarization happening right now and a lot of sort of catalytic energy when it comes to all these things. So with that preamble set, let's talk about where the energy is moving in the next couple of months. So one more preamble, actually, which is that the way that I think about astrology, the way that I use it to track the cycles, is that it is a mirror, and it's like the weather. So our souls are more powerful than the forces that are moving the cosmic clock of this dimension. And we are also in bodies having that experience. So just like your day could be completely the exact same if it was torrentially downpouring versus if it was very, very sunny. You could have that inner clarity, that ability to move, to not be at the effect of your external circumstances. You could have the same exact emotional experience, the same tangible experience through two different weathers, and yet many people would have a different experience. Many people would need to prepare. And just think about how you operate with the seasons, right? It's like you're having a different experience in your body in winter than you are in spring. And we're going to get to actual seasons in just a second. So I always just like to bring that in, where we're also not operating in this way. We're at the mercy of the weather of this realm. We are working with it consciously. So a couple of different ways to look at this. Right now, end of October 2025, I'm looking at November, December, January, February, and then into March and April. When right now we are in a retrograde period with Saturn and Neptune having gone into Aries this summer, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, this June, July, August, and now they have retrograded back into Pisces, where they've been for multiple years, Neptune for over a decade. And so the Pisces energy, the way that I look at it, is that it is, there is a higher octave where we've been going through massive spiritual maturation. It is also the end of the zodiac. And so this is a time where, if you think about these big outer planets, these big energetic influences on us right now, they've dipped into the new. And something I've been working with folks in Mission Space, my membership, on over the last couple of months is, what are all the clues, what are all the insights that came up in your life in June, July, and August? Where did you get these little tastes of a new expression of yourself? Where was reality starting to communicate to you something new? Just take a moment and reflect on that right now, because we got this little taste. And now we're in this cleanup time. We're in this time where whatever needs to be continued to be dissolved, to be reorganized, to be let go of, limitation, distortion, stagnation, and also whatever needs to be, there's a level of the final pieces of unfinished business in a certain season on Earth. And so some of it is about distortion and negativity, and a lot of people have been through a massive dissolution, especially starting when Saturn went into Pisces that was March of 2023. So 2023 was a big starting of a tower moment for certain people. And I just do want to put that context in there for those of you who are leaders, those of you who are here to have a big mission. And when I say leaders, also another caveat, I guess we're doing all my operational definitions today. When I say leaders, I don't mean you have a lot of followers. I mean that you are taking responsibility for actualizing your gifts and amplifying them to the highest possible expression, and that you are leading yourself and being led by God, being led by infinite intelligence, rather than operating in a fearful, programmed way where you are more dominantly being run by your conditioning, by the collective expectation, rather than the call of your soul. So that's what I mean by leader. It's a path of devotion, service, and responsibility, and creation. So those of you who are leaders, who are here for a big mission, and by the way, some of you also, you are resonating with that, but there's also a part of you that even if you've already created a bunch, you may feel like, have I even really done anything? And some of you may be feeling like, I haven't really created anything, but I'm still resonating with this message. I'm still feeling that there's something here for me. The era that we're moving into is the era where your gifts have much more of a context, where so much of the demolition of the old has happened. And what's happening is we're clearing out the old, clearing out old structures, clearing out old belief systems, clearing out old energies, dissolving them, reckoning with them, integrating them. We're getting energy back. We're getting stuck energy back, just like a muscle knot. When you release it, it gives the body more energy. There's that pocket of stagnation is gone. And so you've been building more life force, building more energy to now be able to create in a new way. And to actually take all those dreams you have, that you've probably been having a million of them in this Pisces era for the last decade. You know, if I had the energy, I'd do this. If I had the money, I'd do this. Well, you know, if someone just told me, create this new system for the world, create this thing that's going to serve a lot of people, that's going to bring a lot of love to a lot of people. If you're tuning in with this and you're meant to resonate with it, and you are resonating, I can guarantee that you have all kinds of visions. And this is an era that we're moving into where the energy is much more available for that embodiment of who you really are, and also the building and the external creation from that internal energetic. And so those who are leaders in the last couple of years, there's been a massive level. It's like rolling ego death, rolling dissolution, rolling end of an era. And I've seen, this is what the work that I do with a lot of folks behind the scenes, right? There's what you see on social media, certain programs that I offer, and a lot of my deepest work happens in small group containers or one-on-one with people who are deeply devoted to a path of service, to a path of creation, organic co-creation with God. And so much of what we've been navigating in these spaces over the last few years has been this recalibration, this reorientation, and these deeper and deeper layers being revealed of what was still built in falsity, what was still built in fear, what was still built to extract rather than to give, what had even, it's like we're getting very fine-tuned for some people. It's like this little thread of I have to do it this way. Some of us are still working through big places where we're being asked to no longer disregard our true path and essentially betray our soul, right? For some of you, you might be facing big choice points still where you're like, I got to leave this job, or I got to change how I'm living in this way. And there's also a fine tuning that's been happening where it's like, overall, you may be living a life that someone else would say, oh my God, I wish I could have that life. Your life is my dream. Or your business is my dream. And then there's this fine tuning that's happening where it's saying, yes, it's quite good and it's served very well. And yet, where are these little compromises that are actually not little? Where are there deeper levels of authenticity and freedom? And when I say authenticity, it's like devotion to the frequency. It's coherence, it's clarity. And this is not about perfection. I'm still very much in my own process. We all are. But it's about devotion to the process and continuing to embrace those levels and layers of refinement. So I just wanted to share that context for any of you who've been going through big dark night of the soul experiences, and a very, for some people, the energy's been very Piscean, very kind of the shadow and the light of going more into a less active energy, let's say, where there's been, you've seen in the last few years a huge rise in people understanding nervous system healing, somatic healing, all of these things that are repairing from the essentially distorted and oppressive masculine that has been affecting this planet, this realm. And a lot of people saying, yo, I gotta slow down, right? I gotta recalibrate. I can't keep operating in this way. And this has been the kind of like slow, soft, chill approach to business that has also been prevalent in certain realms. So that's there's been a healing aspect of that. The shadow aspect of it is getting stuck in stagnation. It is the parts that actually, because we all have different aspects of us within ourselves, it is the parts that are scared to move forward who are saying, great, now I got you in your slow era, in your soft era, in your chill era, and I got you where I want you because I don't want to experience what is going to happen when I activate my fire again, when I step out in an integrated masculine and feminine, when I step out with my power, when I step out ready to be seen, ready to create, ready to stand for what I stand for, ready to be seen by more people, whether that is the traditional being seen on social media, online, or just simply walking into certain rooms, not hiding the power that you are. So there are aspects of self that have been happy for you to retract, happy for you to take that break because it's been healing, and also because if you stay there, then the mission stops at a certain level. And so one of the messages that I have to share today is about getting prepared to activate and to create and to find that mojo, that courage, that forward movement again in a new way as we start to move into 2026. And these next couple of months, let's just call it even 2 months, November, December, are a time where it's really deep inner work, shadow work. What part of me is scared to move forward? And seeing the dawning sun on the horizon, heralding in a new era, a new time that is coming. And for some people, it's going to hit them like all of a sudden the lights being turned on in this, where you thought you were going to be kind of treading in the Piscean, foggy, Neptunian mist forever. And then all of a sudden the lights are turning on. It's time to go. And it's like kind of a rude wake up. But for those who are able to track the energy and who are able to ride those waves, we can use the next few months to get prepared. To get prepared to step forward, to cultivate a fire for the mission, for the creation, for knowing the difference between healthy slowing down and distorted stagnation. Knowing the difference between distorted, rah, I'm taking a stand, I'm getting out there, look at me, distorted versus healthy, aligned, I'm not going to shrink in a way that diminishes the power of my frequency and diminishes my capacity to create what I'm here to create. And this is the opportunity that's coming. I want to put a little astrology and numerology on this. And for those of you just joining, we're talking about the transition between 2025 and 2026, the trends of the energy over the last few years, where we're going. And I'll have a resource for you about this at the end. So in addition to the resource of this transmission. So Saturn and Neptune finishing up in Pisces right now, hanging out at these last degrees, the end of an era. And I do want to give credit to David Palmer, who's a fantastic, once in a generation astrologer who was the first person who really taught me and helped me see what now feels very natural for, like, the energy makes so much sense to me. He's the first one who shone a light on it for me, which was the end times energy of the end of Pisces, and how this would be a time, and we've seen it because we've really been hanging out in this window for a couple of years, but it's getting more and more intense towards the end, where everyone's essentially doomsday and end times programming has been getting activated if it's within them. And that's why we're seeing a lot of fundamentalism, a lot of dogmatism. And so that's also the invitation, is to know that you may be connecting with and seeing the parts of you that have nihilism, that have despair, that still have wounds that can be poked by the collective chaos, that still have maybe religious programming that you're working through, where you're fearing a kind of projection of a judgment day rather than being in an organic cycle of death and rebirth. And so this end times energy is very strong over the next few months, and it's a great opportunity. It's a great opportunity just to work with what's coming up, and then to also get prepared. So I'm seeing this question here. Do you think a lot of people are in this preparation phase for the next few months and then stepping up? So it'd be supportive to structure creation around these transits? 100%. 100%. That's exactly what I'm saying. And it's something that I'm working with private clients with, some folks in one of my small groups. It's been really interesting as well, because there's certain people I've been giving this transmission to who it's helping them time their stuff. And then there's a lot of people who are organically timed with it. People who have been on a path of divine surrender. I have friends who've been, they've been doing their healing work, their service work for over a decade, and they're in the midst of a rebrand. I actually have several friends who are in a rebrand right now, and they keep feeling like now's the time. Like, I just want to get it out, but then they keep, in their own intuitive process, they keep being paused a little bit. And then I've been coming in saying, you want an astrological perspective on this? Always got to ask for permission as a projector in human design. But I've been just reflecting to them, listen to the timing, because it may be that this is getting, whatever's coming out is getting sequenced with when the collective is going to be ready for it, and when you're going to be ready to fully hold the energy, fully stand behind it. And there's someone else that I work with who's organically been feeling a release date for one of her projects, not one of her projects, like a big next expression of her body of work for February. So let me give you a few more dates here, and then I'll talk a bit more about preparation. So Neptune goes into Aries January 26th. Saturn goes back into Aries February 13th. The exact conjunction of Saturn and Neptune at 0 degrees of Aries, and I think it's 45 minutes, it's like right at the very beginning, is on February 20th. They've generally been in a kind of loose conjunction for months, right? They've both been kind of dipping in, dipping out, but the exact moment where, like, mathematically it's exact is February 20th. And this is, as we go, the way I think about it is it's like this match being lit. It's like that moment where the sun pops up when you're watching the sunrise. It's like, okay, the sun is officially rising. And Saturn and Neptune conjunct every 35, 36 years, 37 years, something around there. But it's very rare for them to conjunct at 0 degrees of Aries, the very beginning of the zodiac. And so if we think about astrology as a mirror, what is that showing us? What can we feel is true within our bones, within our bodies, within our soul's understanding of this time and why we are here? This is a symbolic representation of the ushering in of the new. And we've been in a time that has been very water and earth heavy, right? It's been very swampy. It's been like hardcore demolition, dust flying, foundations getting ripped up, that type of energy. And as much as it's been rapid in a certain way, and I'm sure you can look back and your life has changed so much in the last couple of years, and definitely in the last 10 years, as much as there's been a kind of quickening to the energy, it's also been slow in other ways. And now we're moving into an era that's much more air and fire, much more rapid, much quicker. And that's the energy that we're going to start to feel in February. And the collective energy, so think about how catalytic that is, how much of a shakeup that is for those who are not operating in a conscious way. There's going to be a lot of opportunity to get hooked into chaos, distraction, war energy, us versus them, despair, destruction. But for those of us who are having this conversation right now, who are tuned in on a deeper level, and by the way, there's no judgment for anyone's path. Everyone is on the path that they are meant to be on. Everybody is learning. Everyone's in their own curriculum, right? We don't judge someone who has a different major than us in university, different focus. So this is about those of us who have this focus, which is the bridge between heaven and earth focus, which is the reconnecting with God in this lifetime, clearing old programming, becoming who we're really here to be, maximizing our potential to organically co-create with God and take the beautiful visions that we have and bring them into reality and live lives of alignment, live sovereign lives, which is not just about this like rah, against the structures. It's about an energetic orientation. And that's where systems like human design are very helpful, because it helps you basically live a differentiated life. It helps you not make decisions based on the mental programming and the fear of everybody's doing this. You must do this to be a good person. All of that stuff, we're here to clear through that and to allow the innate intelligence within us to guide our lives. That's the next part of this conversation. It's so interesting because you have this February 2026, beginning of the new era on an astrological level. And then you have February 2027, which is when the background frequency of the collective changes, the incarnation cross of the collective changes. And so we've got these different waves, and I'm going to resist the urge to go into some multi-decade transmission right now. And I'm going to stay focused on this moment that we're in, which is the next few months, Pisces cleanup, getting ready to step forward. It's like if you knew that you were going to be on a stage giving whatever your version of a performance is, showing your pottery, reading your poetry, making a speech, whatever it might be, singing your song, what would you start to do now? Damn, it's 4 months. That's, as I like to say, longest, shortest time. It's going to come up quick. Let me do the math. November, December, January. Yeah. 3-4 months. So it's a time to prepare and to get excited about what you have the capacity to create, and to really sit with, if you're a business owner, if you're already sharing your gifts, or if you've been kind of like hanging out on the sidelines, like, ooh, am I going to step in? Am I going to step forward with what I'm here to share? This is a time to really reflect on, like, where am I still seeing my gifts and my offers through an old paradigm lens? Where am I still saying it's got to be this way? And to take some time to reflect on the purity of whatever vision you've been given, because it's actually easier to fulfill the whole vision. It's something we're talking about in God is My Boss the last few weeks, which is that the bigger the true vision, the thing that makes you light up and say, yes, that would be so amazing, that has more life force and more energy in it than whatever mentally watered down version of it that you decide to do because it's safer. There's, of course, timing to find, take your steps and grow in an intentional way. There's a time for that. And if you don't let the big vision be the big vision, then you're not going to have the life force to see it all the way through. And you wouldn't have that big vision if you didn't have the capacity to create it. And that is where the work comes in. That's where that fire comes in. It's like doing a workout. It's like going to the dojo, going to the laboratory, training, preparing, building capacity, and building that inner and outer capacity. How do I bring my visions into form? How do I create? And then also, how do I keep my eye on the ball? How do I stay focused when literally the distractions are just going to keep getting more and more intense? And we always get little custom distractions too that are just perfectly custom fit for our wounds and our little weak spots. So it's a time to, as the kids would say, lock in, to just spend some time. And I would even invite you to do this in the next couple of days. Just spend some time with like, what's the real vision that still won't leave me alone? I know for me, y'all are going to see me bring out something that I've been working on for like 2 years. And it's funny because I've needed to go through an iteration process with it. And the form that it's taking now, I couldn't have done it 2 years ago because my frequency was still calibrating to it. It's almost like when people are in a process of having a baby and they can feel the frequency of that soul that wants to come through, and then they go through a process where they almost become a match to allow that energy to come through them and become part of their family. I've been doing that with one of my creations, and it's been this process of becoming the person who can steward it, which has been more than a full-time job, literal 24/7, 365, 366. And at the same time, certain pieces of it are literally exactly as I was shown 2 years ago. Exactly. It's like, oh, it's actually that name and that thing. And this is like, but I couldn't see the structure. I was still becoming the person who could see what it was trying to become. And it's a time to really sit with what's that assignment that like, and to really renew your faith. Like for some of you, it's like you've been in an underworld journey. You've been walking through the fog. You've been saying goodbye to a lot of things. People you thought that were going to journey with you for a longer period of time. You know, really people, relationships, places, structures, all of that. And when you've been in the underworld for a while, which is not really a place of manifestation and creation, it's a place of dying to your old self, to start to feel that the dawning, right, the appearance of that light coming back into the darkness, it invites you to reinvigorate your faith and to say, remember what it feels like to really believe in myself, to believe in God, to believe that I can co-create, and remember why I'm here. Like, remember why I'm here. Remember that my soul came here with a mission at this time. And by the way, when I say mission, we'll have more of a conversation about this, but I don't mean there's many different programmed ideas of mission, including this idea of being a chosen one, including this idea of like being better than other people or being specially selected. It's the way that I think about it is that your soul is here to do something. And you know that on some level if you're listening to this. And it's a process of, as they talk about in the Gene Keys and other schools of thought, it's a process of individuation. It's a process of remembering who you are beyond the conditioning and the programming and singing your song fully. In some ways, our mission is like being a bird that was programmed to believe that it wasn't good at singing and wasn't able to fly. And we're realizing again that we do have that capacity and we're going to do it fully. We're resurrecting the capacity to really be ourselves. And for me, mission has a quality of devotion. It has a quality of, there is an energy, a frequency that matters to me so much that I will renew my commitment to being a steward of it again and again and again and again. And I will continue to allow the form of my mission to evolve. So a big part of my mission is supporting other people with their missions, is being a voice for remembrance, being a voice for organic co-creation with God, being a voice for love, being a voice for possibility, which is part of the miracle frequency of organic co-creation. But that has taken many, many forms, and it will continue to evolve. So part of what we're also going to be doing in this new era is building and flowing, right? Learning how to build something, as the I Ching says, that is an enduring form for the gifts of the Spirit, And then also how to be dynamic, right? And to take even, to just really purify out false ideas of what a business, what an organization, what a structure is really meant to look like, and say, what serves this moment, right? What is the collective energy asking for at this time? And what is the energy that I'm in service to, the divine infinite intelligence, what is that asking of me at this moment? And that is a capacity that can only be built through choice, through willingness, and through practice. So where does this bring us? One more thing I want to say, then I'm going to share about a resource. And those of you who are live will probably be here for a couple more minutes. So if there's any other questions coming through, you're welcome to ask those now. So the other way of thinking about the cycle change is that this is a collective 9 year. When you take up, qualms with the Gregorian calendar notwithstanding, it's still a dominant energetic affecting the collective, because most people are subscribing to this energetic. So it is affecting us. This has been a 9 year, right? Where you add up all of the numbers in the year, it nets to a 9. Next year is a 1 year. So this is also symbolically the end of a cycle, the end of an era, coming to that Pisces end, and then boom, the cycle begins again. Some people feel like the cycle is not going to begin again because they feel like the death of who they've been is actually literally the end of the world. It's the end of a version of the world, but we're going to still be here, right? We're going to still be creating. So next year is that 1 year. It's that initiation of a whole new cycle. And where do I want to go next? I want to talk a little bit for a second about seasons. This is something that I track in my work with people on their mission, is the seasons of mission, where you go from a mission. A lot of people have been in a mission fall and winter, where there's been a peak expression and then there's been a dissolution. Things have started to go fallow, things have started to die, things have been underneath the snow, underneath the ground, and we're starting to enter a time where more of that mission spring energy is coming forward, where it's this new initiation, it's this new activation of the next chapter of the mission. And then we move into mission summer, where it's like, okay, it's going from this little catalytic beginning to this robust ecosystem. And that is what is available for a lot of us, that blooming summer energy of, wow, I've built something that is so amazing and I feel so nourished by it. My community feels so nourished by it. That is energy that a lot of people it's on the horizon, but we have to make that transition from winter to spring first. We have to, if you've lived in a cold place that has true proper seasons, that feeling where the spring is starting and you're excited, but you also kind of feel a little creaky. You're like, ooh, it's a little bit warmer than I'm used to. There's a kind of a part of you that's like, can we just stay cozy for a little bit longer? But no, the light is back, the birds are chirping, it's time to go. So that is part of the energy that we're stepping into. So I want to tell you about an offer that I have specifically for people who know that this is the moment that they're in, who've been listening to this. If you're still listening to this, there's a reason why I've waited until this moment to speak on it, because there has to be a level of, this is my path at this time, resonance for this. So for those who know that you're moving from some level of a mission winter into spring, who know I'm meant to bring forward the next expression of my body of work in 2026, who know I can feel, even though it's still kind of dark metaphorically, even though I'm still getting ready, even though I kind of feel like it's almost like this energy of you're about to step on stage, but you're still in your pajamas. You're like, I'm not quite there yet, but I'm getting ready to embody my frequency, to stand for my mission, to create in an undeniably new way, because I'm tired of holding back and I want to step forward. I know I'm called to step forward also in an aligned energy, not with this kind of distorted visibility for visibility's sake, look at me, attention grabbing, or a kind of false propelling yourself into the spotlight. None of that. And if this is for you, I'm going to say what it is in a moment. It's a common energy that will be experienced by people in this container, is that push-pull feeling of like, honestly, I wouldn't be here if God hadn't told me to be here. I would be chilling behind closed doors, living my life. But apparently I have this mission, I have this work that needs to come out into the world, and I got to become the person who can do it. It's this kind of push-pull of, actually, if I didn't have to have a social media account, I wouldn't. If my mission didn't call for it, I would be quite happy, chilling in my own little realm. And that kind of push-pull of like, I can't do it the way I see most other people do it. And yet something is moving me more into visibility. Something is moving me more into creation. And by the way, this is part of the mission. I call it the meta level mission because it's like, there's what we're creating, but then there's how we're creating it, which for a lot of people is moving within existing structures in a new way. So I have a client who's creating something that could be called a membership, but she's like, it's not a membership. It's not like all these other things, right? It's not like these certain structures. It doesn't have that energy. And it's like, okay, well, technically it's going to have a subscription model and it may live in a certain platform that memberships are hosted in, but it has completely different energy. Just like you may post on social media, you may have a podcast, and yet you can do that in a way that's completely different, that feels different. And so that is also a point of resonance that people in my world have, which is this kind of humble devotion to the path and to this willingness to do whatever it takes and to take existing structures and to not take the culture of them, to not say, okay, I got to post on social media. That means I have to look like this and do this certain dance. No, I'm going to enter this room, but I'm going to enter it my way. I'm going to bring my energy in a way that is coherent and intentional to me. So what is this container that I'm offering? It's called Mission Spring. This is something that I ran one time previously in 2024 for the last wave of stepping forward energy. And I've been saying to some folks who are joining, that energy was more of this like little microgreen energy. It was like, we're just sort of like, we're starting to step forward. The growth is beginning. This, and if you look at the invitation page, it's like orange and yellow and fiery and catalytic. It is like the Aries sun is blazing, rise and shine. It's catalytic amplification time. So Mission Spring, what is it? It is a 90-day container that starts in January of 2026 and goes through April. So in the Northern Hemisphere, it's like we're starting in winter, but then we're moving, the container is going to take you through the spring. It's going to take you through that catalytic moment. We're going to be there. We're going to be hanging out at that moment of the conjunction. Actually, let me look at the calendar and see our exact dates here. We're going to be, we have a call. One of our calls is like 2-3 days before the conjunction. So it's 90 days. It is bi-weekly coaching calls, small group. This is going to be an intimate group. Everybody's going to have a chance to speak on every call if they want to. It's not going to be like this lost in the sea of a giant group program. It is, I work best when I'm able to, as a projector, to really see the energy of each person. And this is by invitation or application only. So it's going to be a very, very curated group. And we're going through the portal of January, February, March, April together. And it's for those who know that it's like, by April of 2026, you don't want to be remembering this live and saying, I felt this pull, this push to move forward, but I waited, but I stayed stagnant, but I kind of overstayed my welcome until the fire got lit under me in in an even more uncomfortable way. It's for those who know, I know the power of a container where there's a coherent group that all has the same intention, where nobody's like, I don't know if I'm going to do it. Everybody's like, I'm doing it. 100% I'm doing it. When you have that kind of group coherence, it's incredibly powerful. So the core container is January through April. The preparation begins before that. So we're going to have a preparation call in December, and there'll be some different things I'm going to be giving people. There's the opportunity to do a one-on-one with me as well, so that we're essentially within the next month starting to build this on-ramp into 2026 from this really grounded and intentional place. And if this is something that you're interested in, if you want more information about it, you can comment either on the live or on the replay. Just comment spring 26, and my internet elves, my automation will send you the information. So that's spring 26. So what else do I want to say about this? I think there was one more thing coming through. Yeah, we're getting prepared. This is for folks who know that it's time to bring forward your work on a whole new level. Oh, I think what was coming through was like, what if you don't know exactly what it is that you're bringing forward? That's something that I invite you to really sit with, and to sit with what percentage of the I feel called but I don't know, what percentage of that is empowered or disempowered. Like, what percentage of it is I'm still living the mystery, but I actually, if I'm honest, like, I do have a sense of what my next project would be. I'm just a bit scared and there's uncertainty. Is it more like that? Or is it more, is there an element of that aspect of you that's using lack of clarity as a way to keep you from moving forward? So really sit with, like, if I did know what I was called to bring forward, if I did know what I was called to create, what would it be if I had to choose? Because that clarity is available for all of us. And for some, it is a very clear body of work project. It's like an offer. Y'all are going to see me come out with something new soon as well. And that's timed with this energy. So I'm going to be right there with my squad, with my Mission Spring squad, going through this with them, which is also very cool, right? Because the way that I mentor and I work with people is, it's obviously I hold the space as a guide, and it is about your path and your mission. And at the same time, I am walking the talk right alongside you. And for my small groups, wherever I can, I give people, that's kind of like a bonus that I often will do is give people the behind the scenes on, like, here's how I'm applying these teachings. Here's how I'm making my moves. Here's how I'm setting myself up for success. So for some, it is a very clear project. And for others, it's this knowing of, like, the offer is going to reveal, but I need to start putting my message out there in a new way. Like, there is a identity, death, and rebirth of, I'm going to be beating the drum of this message. I'm going to be telling this story. I'm going to stop hiding. I'm going to amplify my energy in a new way. And that's, if you know the offer still revealing itself, like the exact, like, project and expression of the service is still clarifying, but I know thematically it's about this, and I know that there are things that I need to say, there's art I need to put out, there's expression that I need to stand fully in and not just, like, pop my head out and then hide again. This container may also be for you. And it is by application, so you'll have a chance to, if you're called to apply, you'll have a chance to really describe where you're at, and I'll ask any clarifying questions to feel into whether this will be right for you. And I know we already have a few folks who've committed, and so there's really only a couple of spots available, but I heard intuitively that this would be the time to share about it, because we're getting ready. Sometimes I'll offer things where it's closer to the start date, right? I could have hung out and told you about this in December. Hey, we're starting next month. But the energy is preparation, and the energy is, this is for those who are already looking ahead and saying, I'm getting ready. I'm getting ready now because I need time to build my capacity. I need time to get clear. I need time to create, so that it's kind of like when you start running before you're going to hop on a train, it's like we're starting to build the pace with the energy. And by the way, don't let anybody tell you, in my perspective, don't let anybody tell you that just because it's Mercury retrograde or Mercury shadow right now that you can't do things. Yeah, there's an energy of reviewing, there's an energy of revising, and also if you look at the outer planet transits right now, it's go time. You're going to be happy that you didn't stop. You're going to be happy that you kept creating. And of course, creating in a holistic way that is an embodiment of your values, which is something we're going to get very deeply into in this container, and that I do with all my people, is how you do the work is the work. So this isn't some like old paradigm creation sprint where you're just going. No, it's it's really learning how to create in the new world, which is not forcing and not holding back. Finding that flow where you're doing more than you've previously done, but it's also, as my teacher says, you are not the doer. It's being done through you. So your capacity is expanding. The ability to create with God, like everything has a parallel, because you can see the quickening with the artificial creation that's happening right now, where people are just churning stuff out, which by the way is not what we do in my realm. And in the organic realm, there is a reverence for the cycles. There's a reverence for the time it takes to grow something. And there's also an expansion of capacity for the divine to work through you, where you can look back in 3-4 months and say, wow, I've created more in this period of time. Let's even just call it 5-6 months, right? By the end of Mission Spring, I've created more in this period of time than I've created in years, because the time was ripe, because I've gone through my initiations, because I've been in the underworld, because I went through a fall and a winter, because I let it all dissolve and compost, because I stayed in the fertile void, and now it is actually organically time for me to go for it. So that's Mission Spring, y'all. If you feel called to learn more, to apply, you are welcome to do so. You can just comment here on the replay or on the live Spring 26. You can also just DM me that and you will get the link. All right, so any final questions from anybody who's live here before we close it out? I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited. We've been waiting for this. We've been waiting for this moment, right? There's a fruition energy. There's a fruition energy, and it's also just the beginning. It's the beginning of a new era of creation after so much dissolution and demolition. Okay, so if there's no questions live, thank you all so much for being here. I am grateful to connect with you, grateful for the questions that were shared. Thank you for taking your precious time and energy and spending it in this way. I always encourage you to ensure that that energy invested creates a return on that investment by taking something that you have learned or realized during this transmission and doing something about it. Right? So what was the biggest aha moment that you had? What was the biggest thing that resonated with you? And how do you take that from the realm of the mind or even the heart, right? The kind of unseen, and how do you put it into tangible action? So go do that. And thank you so much. Have a beautiful rest of your day, and I'll see you soon. Take care.